Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Selethia Bell. I'm Assistant Director in our Student Financial Management Center. Our Student Financial Management Center is the first avenue or where students would like to come if you need assistance regarding financial aid, student account related matters. There are different varieties of assistance that we're able to provide. Today, in collaboration with the Dean of Students, we want to provide you all with some very important information that will assist with money management tips. A lot of times we see students that are having issues financially, unforeseen things take place, and we want to make sure that we provide you all with skills, resources, and assistance to help you as you continue your journey here at Georgia State. One of the things I want to talk about first is actual taxes, federal taxes. A lot of this information probably is a refresher for many of you. You know about the information, but we think it's very important that we provide you all with this information for those especially that are not aware. So federal taxes pretty much is required. It's typically around April 15th where everyone that earns over a certain amount are required to file taxes. It is income return each year for federal and state, and again, typically is around the 15th of April. The IRS offers many free tax services. In the Student Financial Management Center, we also assist students with partnering with one of our local agencies that provide free tax services. So please make sure that you guys inquire with us around the beginning of the year. We should have more information regarding free tax services if that is going to be something available that can assist you all. So income taxes usually is pay as you earn. So federal, state, and local agencies withhold from wages that is paid to employees. Your employer actually calculates the amounts based on information from the W-4. So the filing status, how many exemptions, all of that is actually determining the amount of taxes that are going to be withheld. One thing I want to mention, a lot of times there's a misconception with gross pay and net pay. So in the federal taxes, gross pay is actually the full amount that you earn in a pay period. So the amount that you actually earn in a pay period, and the net pay is what you actually take home. I'm mentioning federal taxes because many of our students that are going through the financial aid process, we require tax information if selected for verification. Verification is a process that requires the school, the institution, to confirm and verify information that was submitted on the FAFSA. A lot of times we have students that are caught up in the verification process because of tax information, maybe when taxes were filed with the tax preparer, or even if you, the student, or your family members prepared your taxes. So these are some things that we want you all to be mindful of. We strongly encourage you guys to go to the Internal Revenue website. We are not tax preparers. We are actually providing, or I would say probably confirming the amount that was processed when the actual IRS taxes were filed. So make sure you guys are familiar with the policies associated with IRS, federal and state taxes. And this is an extremely, extremely important component when it comes to verification. Let's talk a little bit about credit. Credit is very important in a lot of ways. A lot of times we see students and they feel that they have to have a certain credit score, or the credit should be up to par if you're applying for a student loan maybe. Any student that has been admitted in a degree-seeking program, you're automatically entitled to a student loan. I would say the old term was guaranteed student loan. Now, when you are seeking additional assistance, like in the private loan sector, private loan funding, that will require credit, running your credit, actually determining if you meet eligibility based on your credit. But I do want you guys to pay close attention to credit. It's very important, especially as you are a student in school and if you're under a certain amount in earnings, how important it is that you protect your credit. So typically a credit score can range anywhere between 300, the lowest, and about 850. And there's a lot of factors that will determine your FICO score, and the FICO score actually, credit is how worthy you are. If someone wants to, a lot of times now, determine if you're eligible to be approved for an apartment, if you're approved for a car loan or a mortgage. So make sure, I'm sure many of you may know, but make sure you research this information and understand the importance of it. There is a free annual report that's available that you guys can obtain. The credit report also, make sure that you guys are checking your credit report on an annual basis. A lot of times you're not aware of what's going on unless you are reviewing your credit report. Identifying information, your credit history, inquiries. Sometimes there are companies that are inquiring about certain car loans or certain things on your credit, just to check to see how your credit score is. So make sure you look and review that information. And it's also public record information that's available. So all of this information can actually be obtained from your credit report. So make sure you understand that. Your credit will impact if you are not paying your bills on time, if you are borrowing more than what your limit is, or you're going over that amount, or if you're applying for new lines of credit, or if you only have one kind of credit. All of this could possibly impact your credit score. So as you are a Georgia State Panther and as you're going through your educational journey, we just want to touch credit reports and the importance and making sure that you guys understand it is your credit worthiness. And again, I do want to put an emphasis on the free credit report that is available on annualcreditreport.com. So make sure you understand that and the importance of your credit. Let's talk a little bit about credit cards. A lot of our students that come and see us, even that are applying for emergency assistance, find themselves in a bind where they are using a credit card maybe to pay bills or just to get by for gas or, just to get along as they're going through their educational journey. But it is an application that is determined if a student is approved for credit. A lot of times you will receive information from third parties suggesting or asking that you apply for lines of credit through their company. There is a APR, which is the interest charge on any balance that you carry over on a credit card. So we always tell students, make sure you be mindful and not to carry over a balance more or over half than what the credit amount is. For example, let's say that you have 500 is the max that you have a line of credit at a particular store. If you are carrying over 450, you still owe 450 on a statement, a billing statement, that could adversely impact your credit score. So there's a lot of information that you guys need to be aware of when you are applying for credit cards. We want to make sure that you are protected and that you are mindful of this important information as you're going through the journey. Make sure that you are reviewing your credit report as well for credit cards that you may have had. Let's say that you had a credit card and you know what, I'm not even making any purchases. I've had that credit card. My mom opened it up when I was a senior in high school. It is actually good to at least make a purchase even if you pay it off and have activity. A lot of times students do not realize that activity and repaying your credit card is showing that you are responsible. So just having a credit card is absolutely wonderful, but also making sure that you use that credit card and that you are repaying in a timely manner the amount or the balance that is due is very, very favorable too. So that is information on credit cards. Let's talk a little bit about renting an apartment. Remember we talked about credit and your credit worthiness. You are going to have your credit pulled when you are applying for an apartment. They want to know how worthy you are of paying your rent every month on time. So first and last month rent, a lot of times when you are going to seek your first apartment is required. So these are some things that you might want to be mindful of when you're preparing to go and rent an apartment on your own or maybe with roommates. You many times have to have not only the first month, but also the last month rent. Many times they require a security deposit. Some may require half of what the month's rent is as a security deposit. Many students are not aware of that. Application fees. So if you're going out, you're not sure what area you want to move in, and you're applying for an apartment here in Midtown, all of those apartment complexes may require an application fee. So it could be kind of expensive. So kind of keep that in mind. Again, your credit check is also proof of income. How are you able to pay month to month? How are you able to pay your rent on time and the amount that is requested in the rent? So make sure that you Be mindful of that. And make sure you read. A lot of times students are not aware of the agreements and the lease. Make sure that you read and you understand before you put your John Hancock or you sign that lease. We see students in the Student Financial Management Center a lot of times that are in a financial situation and they're seeking assistance because they were not aware of certain things that was, pretty much in the lease and what they were responsible for. So I want to encourage you guys to make sure that you understand this is an extremely important document and you should be reviewing this information. Some apartments require renter insurance. Some require that you protect, they want to protect their property and also the apartments around you, above you or below you, should you have a leak or should there be a fire. So these are some things that sometimes many of our students are not aware of when you're going and seeking that maybe that very first apartment. So these are some things that we just wanted to review with you guys. As we move on, let's talk about purchasing or buying a car. Car shopping can be in person, or actually a lot of students are using the online. So you're able to go online and select the type of car you want. I think Carvana is one. But this is allowing you opportunity to purchase a car either by going into a dealership or online. It's a private sale. You want to always make sure that you check the vehicle history. I've had students come in and say, Ms. Bell, I just purchased a car and it's not working. I just haven't even had it 3 months, and there's certain things that are going on with the car that I was not aware of. So make sure that you are checking the vehicle history. That information should be disclosed to you so you know exactly what is going to happen in the purchase. New cars actually, believe it or not, have a higher depreciation value. As you guys research, you will understand depreciation when you purchase a car from the time it is on that lot, that dealership lot, and you drive off, how much the value has decreased. So these are some things that you may want to consider when you are purchasing a car. You want to consider, do I want to purchase a new versus a used? What are the advantages of purchasing a new or used vehicle? Leasing versus do I want a car note? A lot of times I have students to say, I just want a very limited amount, maybe only for 2 years. I only need the car for 2 years. I have other plans. So leasing may be a better option for you. It may be sometimes more cost effective. So these are some of the things that you want to research when you are deciding when you want to purchase a car. You want to also research the insurance, the type of car, based on your age, based on your driving history, what that amount may look like as far as what you're paying in car insurance. So these are just some tips and information to help you as you go along and you're thinking of purchasing a car. So I want to kind of go through savings. This is always the conversation that we have in the Student Financial Management Center with our students, budgeting and saving. Savings is very, very, very important. It's that rainy day fund. If something happens unforeseen, you're able to go into, a pot and get some funding to help you go along. Let's say your laptop crashed unexpectedly and you in the middle of the semester, a week away from a final exam, have to purchase. That gives you the ability to not have to use your credit card or borrow, but to use from money that you may have saved. There are different ways that you can save. Some students, or even myself, I have automatic drafting where money is automatically taken out of my check. I don't see it, and it automatically goes to savings. I will say I'm not as disciplined as some others are. And for those of you that find, you know what? I don't even get to see it. At least I know it's taken out of the money that I've earned and it's going into a savings account. So that's an option. So you're actually paying yourself first. So out of that paycheck, you're paying yourself by taking a portion of those funds going into your savings account. There are plenty of apps on how to do this, so make sure you guys are so savvy that you research different ways that you can have an automated version of how you can have money go to your savings account. A savings account will securely store your cash while you earn interest on your own money. So isn't that great to earn interest on your own money? And by saving and not touching that money and allowing an banking institution to store or keep your funds will allow you opportunity to also draw interest. So that's some information I wanted to share. It is delayed gratification, emergency savings, and like I said, if something should happen, that gives you the opportunity to go and dip into those funds. So I cannot express the importance of you guys understanding and educating yourself on how to save, and save. As we move along, I want to briefly speak on student loans. So many of you as students here at Georgia State have taken the opportunity to secure either one of the two types of student loans that are available. Direct loans, they're both federal loans from the Department of Education. The federal direct subsidized and the unsubsidized. One of the things I always tell students when there is a decision of, you know what, Ms. Bell, I want to live on campus, but I don't have enough funding. I'm trying to decide if I want to take some of the loans or all of the loans. What I'm going to tell each student that come across my path, only accept what you need. First thing I want students to decide and think about is educate yourself on the two different types of loans. What does it mean to have a direct subsidized loan? A direct subsidized loan means that you are not paying any interest on that loan while you are in school. The interest is paid by the Department of Education. If you decide that you want to go ahead and repay that loan before you graduate or before you fall below half-time enrollment, then you're just paying the loan amount, the principal. There's no interest that has accrued on the subsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan is slightly different. Students are required to pay the interest quarterly on the loan. So any loan, if it's an unsubsidized loan, you will be receiving a quarterly statement on the interest that has accrued. You're not going to be penalized if you decide, you know what, I don't have it to pay, but it will capitalize. So when it's time to repay that principal, it will have the capitalized amount of the interest as well. So what I'm saying to you all is not to defer or not use loans as an option. This is an option available to many of you, and it has allowed many of you the opportunity to study abroad, to live on campus, to have additional funding, just things that you need to purchase your books, to be financially prepared for school. But discipline and educate yourself on the importance of student loans. That's very, very important. And more importantly, only take what you need. So when you complete the financial aid application every year, you are automatically being reviewed, and loan eligibility is automatically determined, whether it's the subsidized, which is the more favorable, or the unsubsidized. We're going to always offer you the max that you're eligible for, and it's your opportunity to decide exactly what you want in the loan funds. This is just a chart, and I challenge you all to go to studentaid.gov. It's an excellent website. Studentaid.gov will give you the information that I'm providing, and one important is the aggregate. So the Federal Department of Education has set a limit on the amount that you can borrow in student loan funds. Just because you are short $20,000 or you're short by $10,000, it doesn't necessarily mean that amount is available to you in student loans. The amount you're eligible to receive depends on your grade level, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, and if you are a dependent or independent student. It's also a lifetime limit. It's a lifetime limit where the Department of Education says as an undergraduate dependent student, you can only borrow $31,000. Or if you are an undergraduate independent student, the max you can borrow is about $57,500. So it's very important that you guys research and you understand this. I see many students, it may be their last semester, and didn't realize every semester they were securing and accepting the max in their student loans. So now you're at your aggregate, and unfortunately, the only option would be through private loan funding. And remember, private loans require that you have credit worthiness, and you have to secure or you have to pass the credit check. And for many of these outside donors or lenders, they will require that you have a cosigner. If you earned under a certain amount of funds, they're going to require that you secure a cosigner. So this is very important, you guys. And again, this information is from studentloans.gov, or you can go to Federal Student Aid. One of the great features on studentloans.gov or on Federal Student Aid website that I would like for you guys to review, there is a loan repayment calculator. So many of you have already borrowed, and many of you are like, right now, if I had to repay my loans, what would that look like as far as the monthly amount? The student loan or the repayment calculator allows you to put in the amount that you currently have borrowed, and based on, there are several different repayment options: standard, graduated, income-based, pay-as-you-earn, and it'll show you, based on those different plans, the amount of loans that you have to repay. I will be very honest in saying that many students are shocked. They didn't realize that that was the amount that they had borrowed up to a certain point, or that would be the amount that they had to repay. So it's very important that you guys understand this now, and our goal is to make sure that you understand the importance of these different options that are available. But there is going to be a time when you graduate, or when you fall below half-time, or you completed your degree and you're ready to go into repayment. This is what you're facing, and this is what you are reviewing. So there are a few reminders before I hand it over to Fallon from Dean of Students. I just want to share with you guys. One thing I want to share with you guys as you're going through financial planning, the money tips, the different information that I'm sharing, one of the key terms or key advice notes that I can tell students, I always tell students, earn good grades. Earning good grades is the difference of you receiving a scholarship or a grant. There are funds, there are outside donors that come to Georgia State and say, hey, we are looking for a student with at least a 2.7 or a 3.3 in this educational field. So make sure that you are earning good grades. That's very important. Make sure that you are maintaining what is considered satisfactory academic progress. If you go to Georgia State's website and go under Student Financial Services, there you will see all of the required components to meet what we define as satisfactory academic progress. Not meeting satisfactory academic progress is the difference of you being able to receive any financial aid. And this is an example. Maybe a student with a 3.7 GPA may receive notification from us saying, oh, you're not eligible for funding. Well, how is that? I have a 3.7. There are three components that we look at. One, of course, is the GPA. You're okay with that, with the 3.7. We look at the allowable time, how long it's been taking you to complete your degree, and I will say the most favorable or the most popular component, even with having 3.7, is pace. If you are not progressing, meaning you are withdrawing or you're not passing your courses, that could affect your ability to receive funding. Many students have to either stop or not attend because of this component. So I want you guys to, I challenge you to research this. Go to our website under resources and read all of the information involving satisfactory academic progress. And lastly, stay engaged. We have resources that we can assist you guys with. You can schedule an appointment and meet with us virtually. You can go to our website. You can submit an email through Panther Answer. But just asking a question, you know what, it's the beginning of the semester. You have one book you were not able to secure because of funding. You just want to know, can we assist you? And a lot of times the answer is yes, but you have to reach out and you have to let us know before we can decide if there are funding options available for you. Again, my name is Selethia Bell. I'm from the Student Financial Management Center. I hope you're able to take away some of this important information, the money management tips, the resources, the information that I'm giving you, because it will assist you as you continue along your financial journey. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, so we're going to move on to the next section. Give me just 1 minute to pull up the PowerPoint. So as Selethia mentioned, financial literacy is critical, and we realize that it takes a long time to get there, and so we want to help get you there faster. So we're going to talk about resources that are available to you as a student. So my name is Fallon Proctor. I'm the coordinator of student assistance, and I work in the Dean of Students office. So we're looking at financial and crisis and instability, okay? So we don't want you to just be thinking about money when you need it. We want you to be thinking about your resources all the time and constantly be evaluating where you are. So one of the things that is unique in terms of being in college is that as a student, you are already connected to a network. So connecting to that network often opens a lot of other doors. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Again, we don't expect you guys to know everything. We don't know everything, even though we may think we do. So we are here to learn with you, to help you be successful, and to help you make the best educated decisions. Establish your wants versus your needs. So Selethia mentioned when you're thinking about buying a car or buying a house or getting a credit card, are you looking at what you actually need versus is this a want? And being able to discern that can make a big difference financially when you are moving along, and those decisions could have negative impacts. So we want to minimize that as much as possible. Planning ahead and planning often. A lot of times we make a plan and that's the only plan we have. I would highly encourage you to plan A, B, C, D. Here's an ideal plan, but if that doesn't work out, this is the next option. The more options you give yourself, the better prepared you will be to handle situations that come up. So, as college students, typically we're living off ramen noodles, maybe pizza, we're getting food at the events, things like that. Know that we offer food resources on campus. So again, as a student, you are entitled to this benefit, if you will. We have a Pantry that's located on several of our campuses. That includes Atlanta, Clarkston, Decatur, and Dunwoody. So students can use the pantry once per week. You do need to be currently enrolled. And you can also request a hygiene bag. So we realize that we don't just need food, we need other things. We may need toilet paper or shampoo. And so hygiene bags are something you can request when you visit the pantry. There's also additional services. So students may want to learn information about how to stretch their food budget, how to make the food that they have last longer, how to be healthy but also full. And so there is nutritional support and counseling that's available. If you have questions or want additional information about those additional services, you can always contact Panthers Pantry at gsu.edu. You can also visit their website, pantry.gsu.edu, and it'll give you a listing of hours. A lot of times their social media will post stories that events going on. There may be a giveaway of pizzas or something like that. So be mindful and tap into that resource because, again, it can help supplement your income and cut down on you having to borrow lots of money and go into debt. In terms of off-campus resources, so there's options there as well. The pandemic has really shed a light on how much there is in terms of food insecurity, and it's not just limited to college students. Folks are struggling to get back on their feet, but again, as college students, know that while you have resources on campus, there are also off-campus resources. So I've listed here a text find food to this number, and it will locate a pantry closest to your zip code. So it doesn't require you to travel a long distance. And again, if you're having food insecurity or housing insecurity, transportation may also be scarce. So this connects you more closely with agencies in your area that can serve. Also, utilizing websites like findhelp.org. I use this website very often, and they have a variety of resources for all types of things, including medical, food, housing supports, things like that. I think half the battle in resources is actually doing the research to find them. They are out there. SNAP benefits, we did mention this as well briefly, that students typically need to be working about 20 hours per week to be eligible for food stamps. However, during the pandemic, they have relaxed some of those rules. So more college students are eligible for food stamp benefits than they have been in the past. Again, these are ways to supplement your income to cut down on excessive spending or borrowing. So moving on to housing. I would say housing instability is a serious concern for many, many, many people, college students especially. Living on campus is very expensive, but so is living off campus. And rent is continuing to increase while wages are not. So make sure that if you find yourself in a crisis, you can definitely reach out to the Dean of Students Office. We call it the Embark Network, and we are basically providing students with assistance as they navigate through these difficult times. So we will go through options with you. We will look to see, can you get on-campus housing? If not, what are some other community supports that you may need or other housing options? We do have designated points of contact. We call them DPOCs. That would be myself as one, India Blackburn, who's an assistant dean of students, and Anitra Patrick, who's an assistant director. We are all focused on this type of work. So we want to make sure that if a student is struggling with housing insecurity, that we are providing that extra level, that extra layer of support and getting them through as they continue on with their coursework and what have you. So what I've learned is if your basic necessities are not being met, being in college becomes all the more stressful. College is fun, but it is also stressful and it's serious. It's not meant to be easy. So if you are struggling to maintain basic necessities, you may find yourself in a situation where you are not progressing. As Selethia said, satisfactory academic progress is very critical to you being able to remain eligible for financial aid. So sometimes students want to put the cart before the horse, and at one semester they're dealing with homelessness, and then they didn't do well, and then the next semester we're dealing with the same thing. So again, we want to work with you to figure out how to alleviate some of these non-academic stressors so that you can be successful and graduate in a reasonable time. In terms of off-campus housing resources, so Georgia State we provide a link to an off-campus website. It's called georgiastateoffcampus.com, and it is specifically looking for Georgia State students to rent to. So it could be an individual room for rent that somebody is renting out of their house. It could be a townhome. It could be apartments. It runs the gamut. And what's nice about this website is that it covers pretty much all of our campuses. So if you live in Alpharetta or you live in Newton, there may be some options out there. It is not a website that we don't manage the properties that are listed, but again, we're linking students up to people and corporate agencies that are looking to rent to college students. One of the barriers, as Selethia mentioned, to getting into a place to live is most of the time you either have to have enough credit to not have a cosigner, or you have to make 3 times the rent and have security deposits and do admin fees and all of these other things that you didn't anticipate. So this website could be a resource in that if you're renting from an individual versus a corporate agency, you may not have to make 3 times the rent. They may, or there are even options now where people will bargain. So it could, there's a place called Split Pad where someone may say, well, if you do yard work and grocery shopping, and clean my house, then we'll do that in exchange for rent. So think outside of the box when we're thinking about housing options. And make sure that, of course, we want you to be in a safe place, but we also want you to be somewhere that's affordable and reasonable. So be sure to look at georgiastateoffcampus.com. There's also a feature that you can find other Georgia State students. So again, having roommates is not always great, but it can help to cut down on your bills. So consider that. And again, if you're in need of immediate shelter or in crisis, definitely reach out to our office, one of the DPOCs, myself, Dr. Blackburn, or Anitra, and we will be happy to assist you. Our telephone number is listed on this PowerPoint. So financial resources. So in addition to financial aid, it is definitely highlighted that college students still need money to get other things. Books are expensive, daily living is expensive, transportation is expensive. So if a student finds themselves in an emergency, they're having an emergency, they can apply for financial hardship emergency assistance. And this can be used to pay for past due bills like rent and utilities. Again, those basic necessities. What we don't want to use it for, and we will not use it for, are things like vacations. That's not an emergency. Credit card repayment is not an emergency. When thinking about how you prioritize paying rent versus paying a credit card. Yeah, not paying a credit card is going to impact your credit, but not paying your rent is going to land you on the street. So we have to be able to prioritize our needs and make decisions accordingly. So this emergency assistance is for currently enrolled students that, again, a lot of people have lost their jobs. Some have not been able to find additional employment since that time. And so we recognize that students are struggling, and we want to make sure that we're there to support in ways that we can. What's important to know about the emergency assistance is that it's not a long-term option. It is a short-term option to help get someone through that crisis. If you feel like you need additional assistance with kind of strategizing and doing some budgeting, you can always reach out to the Student Financial Management Center and or our office, and we can talk about that. We will sit down and do a budget with you, so you know exactly what's going in and what's coming in and what's going out, and again, make the best decisions. So if you are interested in requesting emergency assistance, go to the deanofstudents.gsu.edu, and there is a tab for emergency assistance. You can submit your application completely online, and you want to make sure that you submit your documentation as well. And again, note that the emergency assistance is not a guarantee. So they do look at, have you exhausted all of your financial aid options? So if a student, has loans that are available that they didn't accept, they may not qualify for emergency assistance until they exhaust those options. And again, we don't want students to overborrow. But in order for this process to be solvent and sustainable over time, they have to make sure that they are addressing the neediest students. And so again, depending on when a student may apply and what their circumstances are, responses may be different. But again, it is definitely something that a lot of students have benefited from since it started about 1.5 years ago. So in addition, health resources. Again, we're looking at students holistically. We have to address all of ourselves to function well and to do well. But we realize health insurance, health care is expensive. And so this is tapping into your university network, that as a student, you already pay for some of these things. For example, the student health clinic, they can provide services for sometimes free or very low cost. This could make the difference for a student who doesn't have the health insurance and doesn't have any other way to secure health care when they need it. And we all know that prevention definitely makes a huge difference in terms of our pocket, because if we let things go on, it could turn into other issues and become more expensive later down the road. So utilize the health clinic, the counseling center. We all are stressed and we need support. Sometimes we just need somebody to listen to us, to talk. The counseling center is available 24/7. So if it's the middle of the night and you need to speak with somebody, give them a call. There is a counselor that you can speak to. We definitely want to make sure that students have those needs addressed, because we realize that it can be life or death. So please don't ignore signs of, someone in distress and things like that. The counseling center is there. Students, I believe, get 6 free sessions per semester. I know it's been 15 in the past, but they do get free sessions throughout. So again, it's a great resource, because counseling outside of a university environment is typically pretty expensive, even with insurance. Also, for those who live in the downtown area or even in the metro areas, there is Mercy Care Services. So again, this is another community agency that's focused on providing low-cost health care, and that includes everything from behavioral health to dental. And let's say if someone doesn't have any income, and they may be living out of their car, as long as you're a human, you're going to have health needs. And Mercy Care has several locations. And they also have mobile clinics. So this is to kind of get you thinking, again, there are resources out there. You just have to look for them. There are ways to get these needs addressed without having to go in tons of debt. But navigating social services can be overwhelming. It can be tiring. And again, that's what we're here to help you do, is help you navigate and get you closer and quicker to the resource than having to drudge through tons and tons of information. I'm going to go back to the findhelp.org. Again, it is a great resource for lots of different categories. So even just looking around, you may not be in need of resources now, but you could be later. So it's always a good tool to have to use when you need it. Also, academic. Again, students are here for an education, but their life doesn't stop because they come to college. We recognize that. Sometimes students may have conditions that are chronic, that they're trying to go to school and manage. There may be academic accommodations that could be helpful for the student to make sure that they're doing well, but also to recognize that they may have a condition that requires extra support. So if you are in that category, please think about reaching out to the Access and Accommodation Center. They're a great resource, and again, it can make a huge difference in what your semester looks like if you have those extra supports versus if you don't. Obviously, checking in with your advisor on a regular basis. This is important. You don't want to have to take classes over and over and paying for them 2, 3, 4 times. Making sure that you're taking classes that go towards your course program of study. Financial aid is not going to pay for basket weaving if that is not part of your degree program. So it's important that you're checking in with your advisor on a regular basis to make sure that you're making progress, you're taking the right courses, and that you're not having to constantly repeat and repay. But know that if there is an emergency that comes up, there are still options for the semester. And again, this is one that students are not often aware of. Or don't think about, because they don't think that they're going to have an emergency, but things happen, as we know. So if you find yourself in a non-academic emergency and you're not able to complete your coursework or the semester, you can certainly reach out to your instructors to see if they would be amenable to an incomplete. There are certain restrictions with that policy. You could do a repeat to replace if that is a last resort option. You have a bad grade and you repeat the class later. Again, these are options, but they're not necessarily, you have to sit down with it and look at what are the pros and cons. Because a lot of times these policies impact other things. As Selethia mentioned, it may impact financial aid eligibility. It may impact lots of different things that you just don't think about. So if you find yourself in that situation, reach out for help. We want to help you make good decisions. Again, emergency withdrawal, we want to use that very, very sparingly. And if there is truly a non-academic emergency, if that is something you need, you can always reach out to me or a representative in the Dean of Students office who will assist you in working through that and give you some more information. So these are basic resources that I feel like can be helpful to all college students no matter where you are. You may not be in need of resources, but you may have other students that you know that do need resources. So be a good Panther and give this information, refer them out. Sometimes you can find information on your syllabi that will say if you're experiencing housing insecurity or you're food insecure or you have mental health concerns, the resources are there. And if you don't know where to find them, you can at least reach out to us and we can help you get there. So that is pretty much what student support looks like. And I don't know if we have time for question and answers, but that's the presentation. So thank you very much.